morning, January 1st, 2023. I don't know if you can believe this. I have a hard time believing we're in 2023. I was in a conversation recently and I realized that I graduated high school, I graduated college in the 1900s, in another century.
You're getting old.
Oh. In another millennium. I don't know how to deal with that. But here we are, January 1st, 2023, and we're so glad you're joining us. Welcome, City Church. And if you're not from City Church and just happen to come across us today, we're really glad you're here. We're going to spend some time just talking about resolutions. Sometimes we make them, sometimes we don't. We're going to have a conversation about Jesus. He had lived a very resolute life, and I'm excited for where we're headed. So I just have some questions. The obvious question when we start this conversation on this January day is, do you guys make resolutions? Are you resolution people?
I try to.
Okay.
I feel like for the first few months, I do a really good job, and then it falls downhill.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are all nodding your heads?
Yeah.
Well, I try to make resolutions that are like resolutions that I can keep or try to process.
Keep the bar low.
Yeah, you play it safe, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So what's a resolution you succeeded at? What's something like you look back on and go, one time I made this decision and I did it.
Okay, there was one time that I got a chronological Bible.
Yeah.
And it has each of the days.
Right.
And I did finish it, but there were some days where I had to read like 10 days worth. So yes and no.
Okay. But you did it in the time frame.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? You can think of a resolution, you got it done. No?
I don't
No.
think so.
Really?
Sorry, I'm cheesing cliche, but it's like just praying more or like reading my Bible more.
So how do you measure that? How do you know if you did?
Well, I can definitely, I don't know, just something from like the year before of just like, okay, when was there time? I don't think there's necessarily, in those moments, I don't think that it's something that you measure necessarily, but it's more of a heart posture that you move towards.
Sure.
So, I could definitely say within those years, especially of like, I remember one year specifically, sophomore year of college, where it was like, I'm going to read my Bible every day.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
And that was like the most like spiritual growth
Right.
that I've seen in my walk with Jesus
Cool.
because I committed to that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like to track things. Like in my journal, with Tracy and our 6 children and our 12 grandchildren, I have a hash mark. I can tell you exactly, at least for the last 3 years, how many days I have prayed for each of them this is my standard, by name, out loud. That I've prayed for Tracy and prayed for my 6 children and their spouses and our 12 grandchildren by name out loud. And so I hash mark it every year. And so I know, and every year I try to do better. The first year that I did this, I know I prayed for them all by name out loud 180 days. And then the next year it was 182. And so this year I'm given to break that. But I'm the kind of guy I need to write it down. Some people, like I know people, on your Apple Watch, you're closing the circles, how much you exercise or how many times you stand a day. And I know people are like, every day this year. And I actually tried that last year. And about April, I was like, this creates way too much anxiety. I find myself up at night, walking in circles, just trying to get this thing done.
Especially going against Kelly.
Yes. Yeah, Kelly, if you're watching, we've just called you out. I did also last year, 2022, the Bible reading. So shred the Bible, and that is a challenge to read the Bible in 30 days. Or 31, the first 31 days of the year. So for the first time in 2022, I took that challenge, and I did accomplish it. But that was really, really hard because there was So
bet.
I would turn on my phone, and I would just get on the treadmill and just walk and read and walk and read, and just, it was really hard. I don't want to do that again. Yeah.
How many
So,
hours a day were you reading?
gosh, Katie, I felt like, as I look back on it, it seemed like there was about 3 hours a day.
Wow.
I would just read the Bible just so I could do it. And maybe this is hedging a little bit. While I was on the treadmill, I would also have it on audio. So it scrolled on its own.
That's cheating.
Well, I was
I was
reading.
gonna say the same
I was
thing.
reading. I think it helped me speed read. It helped
I'm
me.
just saying. I would just read audiobooks all the time, but people are like, that's not really reading. So
Exactly. I will say that, but it wasn't like I was driving and listening to it. I had it in front of me on my treadmill, and I was reading as it was scrolling.
okay, I guess
So,
it's okay.
so I can't say verbatim I read every word, but I can say in 31 days I started in Genesis and finished Revolution.
Revolution.
I had a revolution to change the world. Was my revolution.
Revelation.
Resolution.
Oh, resolution. Oh, totally got the wrong thing. Whoops.
Okay. So we're coming into 2023. Starting today, any New Year's resolutions on your mind? What are you going to do different this year?
Pay off his car.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably have that done by May.
Good for you.
Nice job. I want to be on my phone less and less each month.
Cool. Do you
Yeah.
get the little text every Sunday that says this is how much time
I
you
do.
spent?
I get the weekly report, and lately it seems like I've been on a little bit more each week. So starting in January this year, I'm going to each week try to dial it back a little bit.
Okay, confession. I reduced my amount of time on my phone, but I know that sometimes, just so I wouldn't increase my time, I'd get on my laptop.
The
I'm
way around
confessing.
it.
Don't give me that.
Cheater.
I
No,
just-
I really, really want to be more engaged with my husband and my son,
Yeah.
and I don't want them seeing me on my phone.
Yeah.
I want them seeing my face. So
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? 2023 resolution?
Yeah, I think with Katie, I thought about it too, and it was like just being more intentional. With going to school, it's an expectation, but I want it to be more deep, where this is my accountability in relationships to the Father, and just growing in wisdom and knowledge, of His Word. So I'm gonna make it a little bit easy for myself and say the first 60 days, but which I know that it's going to be just an incredible experience. So I think just, toning down the electronics, and just the busyness of the daily lives. Yeah.
Good. Mia, any New Year's resolutions?
Mine would be getting a job and starting college.
Come on.
That's great.
yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Those are great. Those are really strong.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I really have some of the spiritual resolutions. You guys, you have to throw them in there. I'm going to read the Bible more. Just so that I sound like a good pastor. But I really want to be more deliberate in spending time with people that make me uncomfortable. We're really good at only being with people that we're comfortable with. And in fact, if I look, I would say me, I don't want to include we. When I look at my Instagram, the people that follow me, the majority of them are people that we completely agree with each other. There's not very many that I follow or that follow me that we could say we completely disagree. And so I just want to grow in that and not through social media, but personal relationship. People that make me a little bit uncomfortable, and not even just disagree with me spiritually or politically or biblically, but people that aren't in my comfort zone, and spend more time with them. One of my 2023s. So Isaiah, I'm gonna spend a little more time with you this year.
God, I can make you better.
I want you to help me grow. Well, let's look at some resolutions that Jesus lived with. Jesus was very resolute in his life, and there's some great examples for us to learn from him. And I want to look at them, although there's many in 33 years of life and 3.5 years of ministry, and the Son of God, everything he did was with resolute purpose. So obviously we're not taking a comprehensive look at Jesus's life, but I put together just 8 observations that I've had that Jesus lived well in his resolutions. So number 1 for you that are with us today and in this room, Jesus served everywhere he went. One of his resolute lifestyles was he served everywhere he went. Abigail, if you would read Acts chapter 10, verse 38, read that verse for us.
It says, "And you know that God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with power. Then Jesus went around doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil, for God was with him."
He just, everywhere he went, he served. Mm-hmm. So that's a great example, but maybe you have a story. What's put you on the spot? What's one of your favorite stories of Jesus serving everywhere he went? An opportunity that he found. Here's what's difficult for us when we look at Jesus. We see the miracles. We see that everywhere he served. We read this verse, they had power, and it almost is intimidating to step back and go, I'll never be like that. But the small pieces of, just in some of my notes, I might know somebody that's having a crummy day, and I can't change their circumstances, but I can bring them ice cream. Somebody that I know that's struggling could maybe make a phone call. I feel like we look at what Jesus did and we feel like our acts of service have to be so grand when really they don't.
I think like the one recently that I've like realized of is when Jesus is washing the feet of the disciples, and he goes like to Peter, and Peter's like, "Well, don't wash my feet." Like,
yeah.
And then Jesus kind of like, "Well, no, I am gonna wash your feet, because like,"
right.
He's like, "Well, then wash all of me." And then Jesus is like, "No, I just need, like, you're already clean. I just need to wash your feet." Because it's like that aspect of like servanthood, and especially, and it just keeps coming back to like how like Jesus is so in everything that he is, so powerful in glory, and yet he's walked into the meekness of like, he's literally washing, which at that time, like they're walking in dirt, and all they have is sandals,
right?
And it's dirty, it's like nasty.
Yeah.
So like that's like literally, if you want to talk about being a servant heart and like doing that, like he washed their feet.
Yeah.
So
that's really good. What also is the example in that, and this is a tall order that I fail at, I'll just tell you right now. So Jesus washed all 12 disciples' feet, and Judas was there. And after he washed their feet, he said, "One of you is going to betray me." And the other disciples were like, Who's that? He loved so equally. Nobody knew Judas was going to betray him. He didn't treat Judas any different when he washed his feet. And I'm not like that. I don't know if anyone is, because here's the deal. We're all just celebrating Christmas. And when we buy Christmas presents, the amount I spend depends on how much I love that person.
Yes.
I spend more on Tracy than I do on you guys. I don't understand or comprehend how Jesus loved so equally in that room, knowing this guy is going to betray me, but I'm going to love him and serve him just like this guy. I'm not good at that. I hope that we all have the same struggle, that if I don't gain from it, I'm not going to do it as well. Like, yeah, I'll wash your feet, but bro, I know your story. So I'm not going to get between your toes. I'm out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Anybody else struggle with that?
For sure. I sometimes it's hard to put effort in when you feel like you're not going to get anything back, just
Yeah.
full servanthood.
Yeah. Yeah. If you think back in the family series, I showed the word blessing and the word blessing, the physical posture in a Hebrew mind, the physical posture of blessing is to be down on your knee with your hands out in a giving, not a receiving. That's the picture. So when I'm blessed, I'm on my knees giving. And so in order for me to be blessed, that's the posture I have to have. And so therefore, I wonder how many blessings I'm missing because it's always what's in it for me,
Right.
and not completely organic in my motive.
Well, and that's so counter our culture. Our
Oh.
culture right now is me, what's in it for me, and you have to shift that mindset because that's not natural.
Right.
That's not like an organic thought, I think, in the human condition.
Yeah. Yeah. Serving, man, Jesus was resolute in serving. So second resolution Jesus lived by is that Jesus did not try to do everything himself. Dang, I'm not going to enjoy this one. Okay, let's just say that right now. I am not going to enjoy this next resolution. Jesus didn't try to do everything himself. Katie, read for us, please, Luke 10, 1 and 2.
Sure. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them on ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place where he himself was about to go. And he said to them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest."
He sent people out, and he we don't even know their names. He just like trusted these people that he didn't really know. Like, okay, I can't do this on my own. I'm going to ask you to help. I don't think I'm a control freak, but when I think about that, I'm a control freak.
That takes a big faith.
Yeah. Yeah. Ab, how about the 5,000 that he fed?
Yeah. I really think that that's an example of Jesus didn't do it by himself because he gave the bread and the fish, 5 loaves of bread, 2 fish to the disciples. And the miracle didn't happen until the disciples were handing it out.
Exactly. Right.
So sometimes the miracle that Jesus wants us to walk in won't come until we're obedient to
Right.
him, to
Yeah.
go beyond what we physically see in the natural.
Yeah. Anybody struggle asking for help? I'm really glad to see a few hands. So at City Church, we try to create a culture of serving, and I love your point of the miracle didn't happen until Jesus commissioned the disciples or someone else to move in that. And we kind of talked about that in November, our series on family, about serving and bringing others in. And all of you serve in such great capacities. Let me take a minute for our audience just to make sure that you know all that are here. This is Abigail, Pastor Abby, our worship pastor, and she does an amazing job and leads us into the presence every week. And this is Isaiah. He's our music director and does production for us. And they're married. So, yeah, so that's pretty cool. Katie is our children's director and does a whole lot of our administration and serves in great capacity. Rochelle is our connections director, and she makes sure that you feel comfortable when you come to City Church. And after I say things that hurt a little bit, she's the one you want to go to make you feel better. And then Mia on the end serves in our children's ministry as well with City Kids. And these are amazing servants that I trust to serve the ministry of City Church, the family of City Church, and the kingdom. But what's interesting is I don't feel weak asking for help with children because I know I'm not good at that. But there's areas I do feel like, that's a sign of weakness if I ask for help. I can't. Isn't that interesting that if I'm aware it's not my gift, I can ask for help. But if I think it's something I can do, I got this. Yeah. Number 3 resolution that Jesus lived with is Jesus practiced self-care. Man, can I say this we suck at Jesus practiced self-care so that he could care for others. Rochelle, will you please read Mark 4:37 and 38?
Yeah, so 37. A great windstorm arose and the waves were breaking over the boats, so that the boat was already being swamped. He was in the stern, sleeping on the cushion. So they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care that we're going to die?"
Wow. So when you read that, Rochelle, how does that speak to you about Jesus performing self-care? What do you see in there?
Well, I mean, just that he was so confident that he needed to spend time with himself, taking care of his rest.
Yeah.
Physical and mentally, in order for him to be able to have the strength and capacity to
Right.
take care of others.
I think that we all in this room, I know you well enough, we struggle with, when I hear that story, Jesus rested while other people were in a storm. He knew when to get involved and when not to. And I don't think we're good at that. If we see somebody struggling, we jump in and we take it. And it's our burden and we lose sleep over it.
Right.
And it's not our storm until the disciples invited him in. And man, he just was really good. He knew, I'm sorry you're going through a difficult time, but I need my rest so I can care for other people. Mia, will you read Mark 6, verse 31 out of the book of Mark?
Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest."
So how does that speak to you, Mia, when you read that?
I think the best thing to do is to have some quiet time with Jesus by yourself, like it says in the verse.
Yeah, exactly. I love the way he said that. He get out of the crowd. Sometimes we just need to. I think a 21st century translation of when Jesus says, "When you pray, close the door." I think that 21st century translation is, "When you pray, leave your cell phone in the kitchen.
Right.
Just close the door."
Yeah, that verse reminds me of "Be still and know that I'm God."
Yeah.
But another translation of that verse is "Quiet yourself in his presence."
I don't like that. Because quiet yourself means stop this. And I'm not good at that. I'm just not. Like I can feel like I'm really going to dial in. Today it's me and Jesus. We're focused. Come on, this is awesome. And I'm reading a couple chapters in my Bible and I'll see on my phone an ESPN update, like Tiger Woods gets in a car wreck. And I'm like, and 45 minutes later, I'm reading about the Boston Red Sox left fielder who had a baby. I'm like, what? How did this happen? I don't like that. Quiet yourself. Don't repeat that.
Quiet yourself.
I'm not good at that. But Jesus was resolute about that. Mark 6, again, in verse 46 says, after he had taken leave of them, Jesus, went up the mountain to pray. So what we saw in these verses is Jesus was with the 12, and he ministered to them while he was after he was sleeping. And then, as you read, Jesus took the 12 away. But then even Jesus went and got by himself. He's the Son of God. And yet he knew, I need to get alone. I need to be removed from everything and just hang out with my dad. He was so good at self-care, but I think the motive was he knew that if he took care of himself, he could take care of others. And I need to be reminded of that. And if I'm not healthy, there's a lot of people that aren't going to be healthy. And for each of our ministries and even our families, I think that holds true. Fourth resolution, Jesus honored rituals or traditions that reminded himself of his Father's goodness. He honored those areas of his life that reminded him of how good his Father was. Which I'm looking forward to this one. Let's talk about some family traditions. What are some family traditions you grew up with, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, kind of the season that we're in, or maybe completely something different? What was a family tradition that highlights you?
At Christmas time, we'll put our PJs on and then go get hot chocolate and drive around and look at Christmas lights.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's fun. That's fun. Well, what are some family traditions that you've done?
Yeah, this reminded me of my childhood on the islands, and there was so much to see during Christmas time. It's our favorite holiday, but my dad made it such an incredible, and I don't even think we called it a resolution. It was just he loved Christmas so much and the lights and the decorations throughout the island.
Yeah.
That we would just drive at every public spot that they did an incredible arrangement of an outdoors, Christmas light show or
Right.
something. So we spent time every single year doing that. And that was my memories of my father doing that for us.
Yeah.
One thing that Matt and I have, I guess we're calling it our tradition. But he's always wanted a fresh Christmas tree. And we don't get much of that on the island.
Right.
So it's usually you put it up from a box and put some lights on, or the lights are already on him.
Right.
So we now always get a fresh Christmas tree, and that's our tradition.
Come on.
It's so simple, but
Love it.
we love the aroma of
Yep,
it.
yep.
It's just, and it's so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
just to see the leaves naturally falling off, and it's
How cool
I
is
love
that?
Christmas. I'm excited.
Any other traditions?
For me, my siblings and I, we bake cookies and hot chocolate, and then our family puts up the Christmas tree and lights together.
What fun. There's something, I want to eat a cookie that Sebastian makes. Next year at Christmas, I want a Sebastian cookie.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
All right.
Got it.
Well, this past Christmas was the first Christmas that Freddie and I got to experience it with our babe.
Yeah.
So that was, it just like brought so much more to Christmas. So we started new traditions as our family of 3. So we, what we're going to do is our family is read the Christmas story on Christmas Eve every year. That's what Freddie did Christmas Eve this year, and get to open one present. So, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
But now we have to take the Christmas tree down, so that's not as fun.
Yeah. Exactly. Isaiah, family tradition?
Yeah, something we always did, especially when I was growing up, was we would open one Christmas present Christmas Eve, and then in the morning, Christmas Day, we'd open up all of them. And because there were so many boys, we would take turns. So we would get a couple of presents, and then so they would go, and we would each watch. And then it would go back around, and then we would have cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
So that was our thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, now me and Abby just have to figure out.
You're just going to watch each other? Okay,
No,
your turn.
no. I'm thinking, well, what? We'll probably, I don't know. We'll start something.
You'll make some tradition. I grew up similar to that. I'm the youngest of 6, and so we just learned. We opened all of our presents on Christmas Eve. My dad's philosophy on that was Christmas morning, where all the other kids are just opening their gifts, you're already enjoying yours. So we were like, yeah, Dad, you're solid. We love this. So with 6 children, we did everybody opens a gift and everybody watches. And partway through, you stop and you get some hot chocolate and you eat a little cookie, and then you sit back down and pick up where you left off. And so Tracy and I actually continued that. You know, she came from a small family, but now with the size of our family, we've continued that. And sometimes Christmas Eve for us goes till 1 or 2 in the morning
my.
because we're just waiting. But it's just so fun. And then we save the big present for Christmas Day. So whatever the major gift was.
How do you determine what's that major gift?
That's a great question.
Does that come from you?
Sometimes it's dollar amount, sometimes it's size. You know, back I can remember some examples were when the Xbox first came out, and so we bought our boys each an Xbox, and so that was the gift that they got the next morning. We also have the tradition of the Christmas stockings get stuffed with a ridiculous amount of candy and more than you need. So it really is fun. I also put in my children a tradition that I started when they were young and until they were all grown up. If there was anything I was good at that I did consistently was every night, no matter what our day was, whether we had a day of conflict or a great day or we didn't see each other much, every night when they went to bed, I would say to them, the last thing I would say to them, I'd make sure at the end of our conversation, I would say, I love you. And I would walk out of the room or they would go to their bedroom. And then in the morning, every morning when I would wake them up and shake them until they're finally cognitive. Come on! Actually, my children will tell you that there was sometimes I would go in the room, flip on the light, pick them up and just spin.
Oh my.
And then, but the first words they would hear out of my mouth are, I love you. Because I just wanted my children, the last thought of the day and the first thought of the day to be, my father loves me. And so for all of their life, I just made sure that was the last thing I said to them and the first thing I said to them whenever I was home and able to, that no matter where they are in life, they know this, my father loves me. And of course that's bigger than me, and that's Christ, but those traditions are so fun. So the fifth resolution, Jesus knew the scriptures. Obviously, he's the author, and applied them to himself. Now, that's kind of a tall order because we've all been in places where there's rules, but they don't apply to the people that made them. Is that, you know what I'm saying? Like in staff meetings, I can insult Isaiah, but he can't insult me. We know that rule.
That's not true.
And speaking of Isaiah, will you read for us Isaiah? Isn't that cool how that worked? So we gave Isaiah the assignment of reading Isaiah. You probably have it memorized because you're Isaiah.
Absolutely.
I'm sure. Will you read Isaiah 61, verse 1 and 2?
Yeah, it says, the year of the Lord's favor. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn.
So powerful. I mean, realize what you just read. He says the Spirit of the living God is on me to serve, to go to the brokenhearted. The Word of God tells me to serve. He applied the Word to his life. Is there any verse in any of your lives, maybe it's a favorite verse or a lifetime verse, that when you read it, that bad boy applies to my life? I apply that verse to my life. Any of you have one of those?
Oh, yes, I have it right here.
What do you got?
2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit of fear, not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control, or a sound mind.
So how do you apply that to you?
I think a lot of times I'm the person that really likes to have control over things. And when life gets crazy and I get anxious, I feel like I don't have control. So I try, and this year another resolution of mine is to really sit on this verse.
Mm.
I don't have a spirit of fear. I haven't been given that. I
Right.
have the spirit of love, self-control, and power and authority over those thoughts.
Sure.
So that's what I'm really going to have on my heart this year.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a verse that you read and it applies?
Yeah, I mean a couple, but the one recently that I've like really held on to is Galatians 5:16. And it says, "But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh." For the desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to keep you from doing the things you want to do. And so something like that of like I've noticed time and time again of like if I'm walking in, the more I walk in the Spirit, the less things of like the flesh that I find gratification in. And an old hymn of "Fix your eyes upon Jesus,"
Yes.
and the things of this world will go strangely dim.
Strangely dim.
And so it's there's nothing more powerful than when you fix or focus your eyes, not only that, but your heart and your whole mindset and your whole life on Jesus.
Yeah.
And you draw closer to that, and whether that's praying more, being in worship, or doing that, when you draw closer to Him, you find that the things of the world just don't really matter. They just don't.
That's
So
good.
that's
good.
something that I've taken personally and really tried to apply it.
Yeah, I love that old hymn. Wish we had a worship leader to sing it once in a while.
Hey, we sang a couple of old hymns recently.
Yeah?
I have a couple. One's in Proverbs, and it says, "Commit your ways to the Lord, and He will direct your steps."
No way.
And yeah,
That's similar to my favorite verse.
Oh.
My lifetime verse is Proverbs
Twins.
16:3, which is commit your works to the Lord and your plans will be established.
oh, that's it.
Come
Our
on.
birthdays are the same. Our
Birthdays?
verses are the
Aw.
same.
Lifetime verse?
Okay.
Come on.
So I've been meditating on that, and then also Philippians 4. This says, "Fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable, right, pure, excellent, praiseworthy."
Yeah.
Another translation says, "Fasten your thoughts."
Yeah.
And so I just like that imagery of like it's deliberate to fasten my thoughts on Him. So
That's good. You guys got anything you like to apply?
Yeah, so for me, my favorite verse is Jeremiah 29:11.
Come on.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And for me, I'm a planner. I like to know everything that's going on. And I like to plan ahead. But I need to be meditating on this verse that like He has a plan for me
Yeah.
for college and like for my career
Right.
and stuff. Like that.
Absolutely.
Mia, that's such a great testimony to hear from you. That's awesome. Yes. Do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, I have like 5. Do you want me to read all 5? No, I'm kidding.
I'd like you to use your microphone because these people want to hear you.
Yes, I do.
No, you can't do all 5. No.
I have a lot. I mean, in the beginning of my walk in the Lord, the biggest one was, to serve faithfully to Him. That I don't have it written down, but the one that I've really stood on was always His goodness. Like I always find scriptures that are reminding me how good He is and how loving He is and faithful. So James 1:17 says, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning." So that one just reminds me so much, like, where does the goodness come from? And when I feel like it's good, I know that it's from Him.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, yeah. I it's so healthy for us to take verses and wear them. And the example I gave, when we were preparing to record for today, sometimes we can keep a scripture at a distance. Romans 3:23, for all have sinned. That's everybody else. But when I replace all with my name or with the word I, for I have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. It removes the distance, and it comes to me. And so Jesus was really good at that. Sixth resolution, Jesus knew the difference. He was resolved to know the difference between the commandments and the culture. The commandments and the culture. Like the command, honor the Sabbath. And he watched the legalism of that become burdensome. And so he brought a culture that didn't violate the command, but helped us live the spirit of the command. So what are some of the influences that, when we say culture, what are some of those influences that create our culture? What do you think some of those influences are?
Social media.
Boom. That's
Yeah,
a
I was
big
gonna
one.
say that. Yep.
Yeah, you just went right for the jugular.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, yeah, a lot of the Christian circles, but definitely more of the secular world. Like it's driven by
Mhm.
that.
I think in the Christian world too.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I think that one's probably the biggest side of it when it comes to how our culture is driven.
Anything else you feel like influences when we say culture?
The only thing I can think of right now is like everything's go, 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 do more, do better, work harder. And there's
Come on.
no space to be still
Right.
and quiet ourselves. And so, like when I went on a mission trip to Ireland and to Uganda and even in Mexico, the culture is so different.
Yeah.
Like they say they're going to meet you at 2 and it might be 5 or 6 p.m.
Right.
But they go about their day walking places.
Right.
And they're not in a hurry. So
It's really good. Walking. Jesus lived life at a walking pace. We never read about him running. We don't read about him hurrying. He lived life at 3.2 miles an hour. He just did. The only time we hear him was when he was riding a donkey. He might have gone a little faster. But he lived life at a walking pace. And the go, go, go. We've been in Arizona a few years now, and that's probably, and you've all heard me talk about this, it's probably one of the pieces that I miss most about Montana is the pace. It's smaller cities, it takes 10 minutes, maybe 15 to get anywhere. And there's not a go, go, go culture. But Jesus was so good, he could take both the culture and the command and blend them and never let the command become religious law and never let culture compromise the command. He was very good at that. Number 7 resolution. And if you're wondering, we have 8. So stay with us for this one and one more. Number 7, Jesus cast out or got rid of distractions, unnecessary distractions, what might come in his life to take him off task. Twice we read of Jesus clearing the temple, clearing the temple, turning over tables. And twice we read that. I think sometimes we miss that one of the times he did that, the second time he cleansed the temple, if we read all of the Gospels together, it says that he came into the city, and it says, observing everything that was happening, he went back to the mountain and spent the night in prayer and weeping. And then the next morning, he cleared the temple. He saw the night before what was going on, but he spent the night weeping. And there's just so much to learn from that first off, Jesus wept before he whipped anyone. But secondly, the people that were in the temple were supposed to be in the temple. There needed to be money changers because it was Passover and everybody was coming in from different parts of the world, and there was different currencies, and there needed to be money changers. But the money changers were not doing it so that people could buy sacrifices. They were doing it so they could make money. And then there needed to be doves for sale and donkeys for sale because people are traveling many miles. They needed to have an animal for sacrifice there. So the people that were in the temple were supposed to be in the temple. But Jesus wept over the heart of what was in the temple, and he wouldn't let it be a distraction.
I just read this verse in Proverbs. It says, people may be pure in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their motives.
Oh, gosh. Abigail, that's so exact. I mean, that's just exactly what it is. So here's a challenge. What's a distraction? Spur of the moment. We'll try not to have too long of a silence on here when I ask this question. Spur of the moment. What's a distraction that you've had to remove from your life, or 2023 you're going to remove from your life?
I would say the phone. However, you can't remove it entirely.
Just get a flip phone.
No way.
See?
There it is.
I think I have fasted different social medias, right? Deleting the app, whatever. But I think in turn, I filled that with other time that really wasn't devoted to the Lord. So I think 2023, I'm going to do a better job of deleting apps, fasting, and really devoting time.
Good for you. Any distractions that you have removed or might remove, will remove in 2023?
I think for me, I tend to help other people with their schedules. So like babysitting and adding more to my plate when it doesn't look like it's a distraction because I'm at home, so I have like the in between of homeschooling and my Bible school, but I think just really discerning, is this a time to assist? We go back to the other numbers and resolutions of Jesus, and it's like, I need to discern really what's my season for helping others instead of always giving that yes, because then it comes to like a wall where you're just stuck.
Yeah.
And just being diligent in helping them as well, walk them through where they can get the help as well, and not just because I'm at home, people think that I have a whole open schedule.
Right.
So I think for me, that's really what I'm focusing on, is just really making sure that what task I'm adding to my list
Good for you.
is serving the Lord, but also being an influence, because if I'm drowning, they're not going to gain anything from me.
Right. It kind of results in, I don't know how many car mechanics I know that the cars that don't run are the ones they own because they spend all their time and energy fixing other people's cars.
Yeah, that's like the golden rule for mechanics.
Yeah, exactly.
They hate fixing their own.
So I serve people, help you with your schedule, let me help you with your schedule, but my schedule's a complete train wreck. And sometimes having to remove those distractions. I just finished reading a book called Stolen Focus, and it is about how social media, the algorithms of social media itself isn't a danger, it's the algorithms of social media that trap us. And it talks about, it used to be in the old days when you would Google search something, that it would come up and there'd be a certain number of results on page 1 and a certain number of results on page 2. Well, Google has taken away pages because 90% of people never went to page 2. So now it's just an eternal scroll. And so it's not the Google's bad, it's the algorithms of Google that trap us. And so I've really had to say, okay, what are the nuances of life? What are those secrets of life that have been a distraction to me? And man, I can get so caught up in, even in the sports thing. Like I don't carve out time to watch professional sports, But college football, like I carve it out. And I find myself, I've recently, in this past season, I was watching a college football game, and I was so anxious and so wound up. And I'm realizing it doesn't matter. I'll never meet one of these 20-year-old young kids. I'm never going to go to that college campus and why is this? And I spent the day so frustrated that my team lost.
You've already spent probably hundreds of dollars on their shirts and hats.
Oh, exactly.
So it's kind of too late.
Exactly. And it's a distraction I don't need. So I have to learn to just enjoy the moment, is my point. Enjoy the journey and not get so focused on the destination of life. So, number 8, our final one where we see Jesus being resolute is Jesus was resolute in encouraging greatness in others. He always was able to see greatness in others. I think sometimes that's why 80% of New Year's resolutions fail, is it's about us. I wonder how many resolutions would succeed if it was about serving someone else. If it was about drawing greatness out of somebody else. A self-sacrifice resolution. Because most resolutions are, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to read more. I'm going to exercise. I'm. And I wonder if there's just not enough accountability. But when I say New Year's resolution, the next door neighbor is going to get a free meal once a week, period. I'm going to serve somebody else as a New Year's resolution. So we talked earlier about something we're going to do for 2023 resolutions. I want to present you and all of you that join us today with making a resolution today. January 1st, 2023, I want to challenge you to make a resolution that for the next, we did the whole watch thing. You got to have your circles done every day this year. And I track how many times I pray. A resolution of 365 days. Well, today's past 364 days, unless you can get it done today. I'm going to encourage somebody every day, whether it's through a simple text or an email or a phone call or putting a card in the mail or somehow reaching out, seeing someone on the street, giving a smile. I want to challenge you to make that resolution, a 2023 resolution, that I'm going to do everything I can for the next 365 days. I will once a day encourage someone. I had a friend who one time made a resolution that he was going to every day share Jesus with a stranger for a full year, every day. And I can remember one time, his name was Rick Gerber, and I remember Pastor Rick, he was a youth pastor in my life, and I remember one time Pastor Rick went to bed and he realized he'd not shared Jesus with someone, and he got out of bed late at night, 10:30 at night, got in his car, and drove around until he saw a guy walking down the street. Oh my God. Pulled over, got out, told the guy, was honest with the guy, look, I'm a pastor, I made a resolution that I would share Jesus with somebody every day this year. It's almost midnight. I haven't shared Jesus with anyone. Can I tell you? And right there on the side of the street, the guy gave his life to the Lord. Wow. And Pastor Rick. And you never know, but he was just determined that for 1 year, I'm going to accomplish this. And so I want to challenge us as leaders of City Church and our own families and our workplaces. A deliberate encouragement every day of the year. Can we make that a resolution? And can we hold each other accountable? Like we have a staff meeting every week. So at staff meeting, I think we should be able to come and go, okay, give me 7 names. Who'd you encourage? Some accountability to this. But it's about others. And although we get to mark it off and we can say, yes, I did it, can we, in that very simple way, be deliberate this next year to invest in others, just encourage and build each other? Yeah, I got all head nods. Okay, you're all in. I hope that you'll join us on that as well. And as we wrap up today, I do want to also say to you that perhaps today you're watching, you accidentally came across this video, and you don't have a right relationship with Jesus Christ. And by right relationship, I mean inviting him in, forgiving you of your sins, and allowing him to lead you into the best life possible. The best resolution you will ever make is to make a resolution that says, today, I want to be into a right relationship with Jesus Christ. Not one blurred with religion or doctrine or tradition, but a right relationship with Jesus Christ. By simply saying, Jesus, forgive me of my sins. Come into my life. Help me be something new and to know you better. Will you simply pray that today and accept Jesus on this first day of 2023? And I promise this will be the most adventurous, exciting, best day of your life if you'll say that prayer. If you made that prayer today, will you do me a favor? Will you comment below that says, today I said yes to Jesus? We would be so honored. And I'm going to pray with you right now before we conclude. So Father, those that are listening to us today, January 1, 2023, I'm asking that you will, right in their front room, wherever they're sitting, wherever they are, that today, as they say yes to a right relationship with Jesus, not a religious one, a traditional one, or a doctrinal one, but a right relationship with Jesus. As they accept you into their lives, become born again, will you meet them, surround them, and bless them? I pray in Jesus' name, amen. If you prayed that prayer, let us know in the comments today. And if you're not part of a good church, come find City Church or find a good church near you. Don't try to live this journey by yourself. It's way too much fun with everybody else. God bless you. Have a great 2023.